All right, good evening. I'd like to call the April meeting of the Edison Library Board to order. Please let the minutes reflect that it was 7:16 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Aristani? Hello?
Hello?
Mr. Aristani? Ms. Kraus? Ms. Massey?
Here.
Ms. Mead?
Here.
Mr. Naik? Ms. O'Neill? Ms. Peng? Ms. Ruane?
Here.
Mr. Yee?
I'm here.
I have at least.
Here.
Who else has said yes?
Oh, Peng.
Thank you.
Is Lisa
Anybody?
there? She was there before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
Okay.
So did Shannon answer that earlier? Sort of like someone.
Shannon is on. Shannon was on earlier. I believe she's here.
I have her. I'm looking for Neville, Vasant, and Sue.
Neville.
And Mr. Brady and Mr. Joshi are here?
Yes, present.
I am here. Dominic Brady.
It appears a quorum is present.
All right, thank you very much. As required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this rescheduled meeting has been provided to the public by notices given to Tap into Edison, the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger. Shannon was on earlier. I believe she's here. The Sentinel and News India Times, posted on the library bulletin boards and website and given to the township clerk's office. This is an electronic meeting under the terms of Public Law 2020, Chapter 11. Persons wishing to comment should send an email to edisonboard@lmxac.org. All right, so the first agenda item are approval of the minutes that we are going to have to postpone to our next meeting. Do we need to have a motion? Do we need to vote on postponing the minutes?
Quick question. I didn't receive the March meeting minutes, right? Did anyone receive it?
No, I did not. No.
Okay.
I don't think you need a formal motion to postpone the reading approval of the minutes, so you could move to the next item.
All right, I did not think so. Thank you. The next item are the financial reports. We have the trustee account reports, and I don't know what is available to report on that, and the approval of bill listings. I'll turn it over to Keith. All right, well, maybe if he does not hear, did you all receive the approval of the bill listings that we've been working on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to the financial reports, we've been having some difficulty here in the office. So a lot of things are getting prepared at the last minute or not at all. I can tell you that the trustees' accounts at TD Bank, one of them has $101,490.79, and the other has $1,948,204 even.
Thank you. And then the approval of the bill listings that we received. Do I have a motion to approve the bill listing?
Who moved it?
That was Lisa, by the way. So moved.
Lisa, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second. I'll second.
David?
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor, we will do a roll call vote.
Mr. Aristani? Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. Naik? Ms. O'Neill? Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Ms. Ruane?
Yes.
Mr. Yee?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. I didn't hear from the other 3, or I couldn't hear them on my end.
All right, well, the bill listings has been approved. The next agenda item is the interim director's report.
That was emailed to you last week, and there's been a number of items in it to bring to your attention. Let me just pull up my copy here a minute. Several items regards the Board of Trustees activities. First of all, a reminder that all of you need to file your financial disclosure forms. Secondly, there is a trustee institute coming up in October. I've renewed our registration with the state for the Friends of the Edison Library and the Edison Public Library Foundation. We also received some documents regarding board best practices for boards. And there's some discussion in that first section about when we finally get to meet together, some things to discuss. The one action item under that is our next meeting is scheduled for May 12th. And that's coming quickly on the heels of this meeting, plus I have a previous commitment. So I'm requesting that the board reschedule the meeting to the following week. And I did hear back from the township clerk, and I believe Monday, Thursday, and Friday are open. Let me just get her email again. Since I'm assuming that we're going to be meeting electronically again, the dates that are available that no other township board is using are May 19th, 20th, and 22nd. So if people have a preference for one of those or a preference against any of them, please speak up.
Do we want to keep the meeting on a Tuesday and make it May 19th?
That's fine.
Tuesday fine for me.
So are we planning to do it on the May 19th? Or?
Do we have a motion to change the meeting to May 19th?
So moved.
I will make the motion to move the meeting to May 19th.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. All right, so we'll have a roll call vote on the change of the meeting to May 19th.
All right, Mr. Aristani? Ms. Krause?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. Naik? Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Ms. Ruane?
Yes.
Mr. Yee?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
And
Thank you.
7 yes.
All right, so our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 19th.
Moving on into the financial.
Excuse me, just a moment. But the next time we take a vote, can you please repeat when
I didn't hear
I'm
everything.
sorry, I don't hear you. What?
exactly? The next time we take a vote, ask who it was that voted and what they did vote, so that we know that we were exactly this reason.
I'm sorry. I heard the
believe what
beginning
she's
and then
saying
you
is-
faded out.
I don't know if you can hear me. I believe what she's saying is that the next time there's a vote, if someone votes yes or no, to repeat that person's name and what their vote was, because she's having difficulty hearing the others.
I can repeat the last vote.
All right, thank you.
I'll repeat the last vote.
All right.
I had a yes from Ms. Krause, Ms. Mead, Ms. O'Neill, Ms. Peng, Ms. Ruane, Mr. Yee, and Ms. Massey. I did not hear a response from Mr. Aristani or Mr. Naik.
Yes, that's what I heard. Thank you.
Okay. On
The
finances.
next item, right, the budget.
I went through the budget and it was hard to tell how it was put together. It looked like money was just plugged in at various points. The other thing is that there was no income statement, and I've never worked in a library that didn't have a budget to indicate where all of the funds were coming from. So the document that I sent out to you last week has my best attempt at creating an income budget for 2020 for the library, which accounts for state aid, fine money, interest income, and things like that. And I did discount some of the lines, such as fines and meeting room fees, under the assumption that we're going to be closed for a couple of months this year. And on the expense side, I made some changes. Significant among them was cutting back on the salary and wages line by about $100,000. Even though we're planning on filling several vacancies and adding one new position at least, which will come up in a matter of minutes. Put in some money for the search process and the interim director. There's a significant increase in the library materials budget. As you'll notice that last year we spent about $280,000 on library materials, books, magazines, databases, things like that. A typical library spends at least 10% of their budget on materials for the public. And the proposed budget only increased that to $375,000. So I went and increased the line to $550,000, which doesn't quite get us to the 10%, but it's a lot closer than we've ever been before. I'm looking at some other changes. We're proposing to spend $75,000 on office supplies. I thought that was excessive, so I cut that back. Gas and electric, I'm not sure where we're going to be spending all of that extra electricity, so I trimmed that back after looking at the audit report and things like that. We need to replace almost all of the computers in the library, public and staff. With the exception of the one I'm working on, I think they're all Windows 7. We'll also be needing to purchase cash registers, and that's explained further on too. And getting down towards the bottom of the proposed budget, we spent $20 for motor vehicles last year. I'm not sure what that was for. It was proposed to spend $10,000. I increased that to 50 because we have two library vehicles. One of them they're both about 10 years old. One has, if I recall correctly, over 100,000 miles on it. The other one has much less, but they're still old vehicles. And so we should plan to replace them, at least one of them this year, if we have the funds. And then I put money aside for capital improvements and some as a reserve against programs and capital improvements next year. And that all totals to $6,437,000. So if anybody has any questions.
I have a question on this one. There's a legal service fee. 2019 expense is around 190K. The 2020 proposed is 350,000, and the final one is 30,000. That's like there's a big difference between the three numbers, like 100.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it correct?
And I'm not sure where they came up with $190,000. That line in last year's budget was combined, legal and audit together. The audit's not going to cost, that's fairly constant, so I took out $10,000 for that. I'm not sure where the other money was spent last year or where it was being proposed to be spent this year. I'm certainly not anticipating that many legal problems. So I cut that line.
Okay, maybe you want to check because the final number is 30,000. Is that like going to be good enough to cover us, or is it still like something that we needed to look at?
Well, we received one bill for the first quarter, and that's it was a little over $7,000. So I think we're on target.
Okay. Maybe then, if that's the case, can we take a look at this 2019? And I don't know how we can get proposed. I mean, these three numbers are so different. Maybe you can like take a look at it and then get more details on this item.
I can get back to you on that.
Okay, thanks. I also have a question regarding the salaries and the wages. Based on this, your proposal, we're going to have, I think, 765,000 increase. So is it the plan that, what's the plan in that area?
Well, among the things that I put into that was a full year of a director at a salary of $138,000 and a full year of an assistant director at $110,000. Those are market figures, I should point out. But you're not going to have anybody in either of those positions for the full year, so you'd be spending less than that. I'm not sure. There wasn't any indication of where the $3,109,000 came from. I had to go back and recreate a salary list and plug in salaries as best I could find with the information at hand. So it came out to $3 million.
Okay.
I wish I could be more specific than that. I do have a list of looking for my I'm looking for the file on the computer here at the library.
That's fine. You can take time to look at it, and next meeting you can give us more information.
The current staff and would come to a little under $2 million. And then that what wasn't in the list was another computer services technician, a bookmobile librarian, as I said, the director and assistant director. The security guards have not received a raise in at least 3 years. We need to do something with our marketing, and so I put in for a figure for a graphic artist and a social media specialist. And if we're increasing the materials budget significantly, we need to put in a part-timer in tech services, a half-time library assistant. So that's where the money goes, or is planning on going.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
I don't know if we need to approve this tonight. The township wanted a figure from us, but I think that's basically, we're at 1/3 of a mil. We're at the minimum funding, and that's probably what they needed for their purposes. This is accounts for all of the money we expect to bring in this year, which is somewhat different from years past.
Yes, yes. No, this is, I thank you very much for all the work that you put into this. I'm not sure that we cannot go ahead and approve this budget, even, concerning questions about legal fees. And perhaps it's not essential that we approve it.
We could probably wait till next month.
Okay. The next item was the establishment to establish the position of account clerk.
Yes. As I noted in my report, the 217 audit by Wiss and Company made a number of recommendations. regarding money handling. And one of the first things I noticed when I came into the office was that people were handing me receipts, and I said, why? And they said, well, because that's what the assistant director does. He reconciles the deposits. That makes for a very expensive cashier. And without an assistant director, it's certainly not a duty I want to take on, nor should you want me to. So based on the auditor's recommendation, I'm proposing that we establish the position of account clerk. It's part-time. I sent you a job description. It's fairly basic, but it would straighten out a lot of the administrative details around here. It will also give us more certainty in how we handle our money, especially when we get the cash registers in place. And the cash registers would be a help for the staff, because everything will be recorded, and when people say, oh, I gave you a 20 and you're standing there with a 10, you'll be able to say, well, this is how it got rung up and this is how it balances. So if there are any questions about the account clerk, I will answer them.
If there are no questions about the account clerk, I move that we accept the job description.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Fiona?
Hi, Keith, it's Fiona. Yes. So I'm looking at your description of the account clerk. And do you think that the educational minimum of the high school diploma or GED is sufficient?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch all of your question.
I'm looking at the educational minimum. Do you think
Yes.
that's sufficient?
Yes.
Okay, so you're just requiring that they have some sort of financial software experience.
Correct.
Okay.
It's an entry-level position. We want them to be able to count correctly and use software correctly.
All right. Do you want a minimum of years that they've been doing this, or you're just looking for someone who is just proficient?
I would prefer to get somebody who's proficient. If we can get somebody who's got a few years' experience, they would have an advantage over somebody who's just out of high school.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I had made a motion that we accept the job description. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, was that Ms. Kraus?
Correct.
Any other questions for me on this?
Do we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Mr. Aristani? Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. Naik? Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Wayne? Mr. Yee?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
I had yes votes, at least from Ms. Kraus, Ms. Mead, Ms. O'Neill, Ms. Peng, Mr. Yee, and Ms. Massey. I didn't hear any response from Mr. Aristani, Mr. Naik, or Ms. Ruane.
I said yes, sorry.
Okay, gotcha. So 7 yes.
Thank you. So that has passed. We have accepted the position of account clerk. So that will be posted, I would assume, soon?
Yes. It'll be posted internally first, and then we'll put it on the township website.
Thank you.
And I just want to note that we had a comment come in from the public to the Edison board at lmxac.org email that reminding people that when they speak, they should announce who they are and speak up because there's some background noise.
Thank you.
The last issue under finance is the audit. And I want to apologize to Ms. Peng. We didn't seem to have enough copies to go around, and I didn't have a chance to photocopy extras. So I did not get a chance to send a copy.
Since we received, this is Ms. Massey, since we received the 2018 audit, and all we need is a motion to accept that audit, I believe we can accept the audit.
I've been working on a corrective action plan. Actually had a draft to the board president and the board treasurer yesterday. So I would have that in time for the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Brady, is there any legal advice about accepting an audit?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, you can do that by a roll call vote, but did I understand you correctly that Ms. Pang did not get a copy of the materials?
Correct.
Okay. So I just don't know if she's comfortable going forward without that, or if you want to put that on the burner. I'll leave that up to her.
Sorry, I didn't get a copy because of what? Sorry, copy of the audit?
We ran out of copies in the office, and I didn't have a chance to photocopy extras.
Oh, okay. I'll just abstain then.
Okay, so yeah, so in that case, you could go forward with the roll call audit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Roll call vote.
Correct. So we'll need a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have to vote on it today? I mean, I know I got it on Tuesday, but I didn't spend enough time to go through all of the material. I just browse through it.
David, I understand that we are only voting that we're accepting the audit, not that we have read it in detail. We'll discuss it further next month, but we're accepting that we received it, and Shannon will abstain.
Okay, and then that's fine.
Are you making a motion to accept the 2018 audit?
Okay, this is Lisa Krause. I will make a motion to accept the audit.
Thank you. Do we have a second? This is Sue. I will second that.
That was Mr. Yee.
Mr. Yi,
Someone
did you
else.
second?
I heard someone else just seconded it.
I did.
Not I was seconded it. Okay.
All right, who was it?
That was Sue
Who
O'Neill.
seconded that?
Okay.
Sue, okay. Thank you very much.
All right, roll call. Mr. Aristani? Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. Naik? Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
I'll just abstain.
Ms. Ruane?
Yes.
Mr. Yi?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
6 yes from Ms. Kraus, Ms. Mead, Ms. O'Neill, Ms. Ruane, Mr. Yi, and Ms. Massey. 1 abstain from Ms. Peng, and no response from Mr. Aristani or Mr. Naik.
Thank you.
Moving further, buildings and grounds. I think it was either day 1 or day 2. We got visited by the owner of the property next door to the main library, who was very concerned about getting access to the property. So it took a couple of phone calls, but we determined that he had that permission from the township, and so we let him go ahead and dig a trench from his property to our storm drain, and he covered it up properly, and everybody was happy. And I've also noted that I've been doing a lot of cleaning, lots of duplicate papers, blank papers. I've been through the assistant director's office, duplicate photocopies of file cards, pay cards down there, personnel records. So we're in the process of centralizing all of that here at the main library. Personnel and financial records all need to be in one location. I also found a checkbook down there and a corporate seal, which I brought back to the main library. So, any questions about buildings and grounds? I'll move on to services. I must say the staff have been very cooperative while we've been closed. Just to recount for the record, the board met on March 11th and voted to hire Pro Libra to bring in a interim library director. I met with the board's personnel committee on the 12th, I think it was, and we struck an agreement that I would be the person coming in from Pro Libra Associates. On Friday, the 13th, the mayor closed the library and other public buildings in Edison, and I started on Monday. So I got to work with the staff the first week, and then because of the governor's declarations, emergency declarations and things, the staff have been on an alternate day schedule, except for those who are claiming a CDC exemption. Some of the staff have been working from home. They've been doing story hours, posting additional material on the library websites. They have been, I've been forwarding to them information about webinars on library and public service, and they've been watching those. They've been catching up on a lot of projects around here. So by and large, staff has been very cooperative, very proactive, I would about providing services, and I would say they're all eager to get back and have the public avail themselves of our services. I know you're accustomed to getting a statistical report. when I looked at what you've been getting, it seemed like a lot of information not presented well, so I'll be working on a more concise presentation of statistics for you. We haven't circulated a lot of books in the last month, however. And one good thing is that while I was touring the branches, North Edison and Clara Barton, at North Edison, we were looking at what was the old periodicals room. And there was lots of shelving in there and question about what to do with it. And I had seen here at the main library that all of our local history materials were tucked away in a locked room that is shared with the custodian and the IT technician and our server, which is pretty inaccessible for our local history material in any community, plus especially for one as significant as Edison has been in New Jersey history. So I suggested to the staff, and they agreed to it, was that we should, we're going to take the room that's being vacated by the periodicals at North Edison, and we're going to turn that into the local history room. So the books that are hidden away here at Maine, going down to North Edison, there'll be a large work table for the public to come in and spread things out on. There'll still be a desk for a staff member. It will be supervision of the local history room will be assigned to an existing adult services librarian. And once we reopen, we will start working more closely with the Edison Metuchen Historical Society and the Metuchen Library on our history materials. So I think that's going to be a bonus to the public and the use of the North Edison Library. And that's what I can tell you about building services at the moment. Any questions?
I have maybe either a question or some kind of information. We know it's a difficult time for the library staff members. Do we have, can we have some information regarding the health and safety of the staff members during this period of time, and how the library is preparing for the challenge facing those staff members?
Well, I can't speak to the health of anybody on the staff for legal reasons. I will, as I mentioned in a email that I sent to everybody, I think today or yesterday, I'm staying on top of various discussions on the national level and also here in New Jersey about how libraries are going to reopen. And so far the consensus seems to be that we'll be reopening slowly. And that, maybe like the supermarkets, we let a limited number of people in at a time, probably no use of computers or study areas. You'd come in, get your materials, and leave. Looking at, forwarded some information to Robbie Robbins, our head of buildings and grounds, about sneeze guards. Not like the ones you see at Wendy's or the salad bars, but ones that would be more like you see in the supermarkets and other public service outlets. We probably will need to spend some money acquiring and installing those before we completely reopen. So that's what
if that's the case, then do you want to adjust something for that in our budget?
Well, the budget, I'm looking under furniture. We have $100,000 in the furniture line. That was how much was put in the proposed budget. Last year we only spent 11,000. So I think we've got enough money. Some of the, there's been some cheap stuff out there and some really expensive stuff. So I think we will be waiting to see if what some of the other libraries are doing. But we definitely want to protect our staff, and like I say, I've talked to Robbie Robbins about what we're going to be doing and how to install them, things like that, whether they're freestanding, attached to the counters, or whether they're going to be suspended from the ceiling. But I think we have the money to cover it.
Okay.
Any other questions about services? Last thing I'll bring up is personnel, and just that I met with the heads of both of our unions, units, to find out what their concerns are. I've always prided myself on having a good working relationship with the union. So that was part of that effort. And in order to, we'll be setting up separate bulletin boards for the union to post things on and for us to post job notices on. Right now it's sort of, there are public bulletin boards. There are bulletin boards in the staff rooms at our 3 branches, but they're a catch-all. And it would be, I think, a benefit to have one that's specifically for union business and personnel postings. So we'll be working on that. And as I noted at the end of my report, there are 6 vacancies on the staff, not including the director and the assistant director. And the file that I found, the format goes back to the 1990s, including some of the details. So the account clerk position is the first of a revised job description. I ran that by the union. They liked the format and the information, not for their approval, but I just wanted to make sure that they didn't feel that we were leaving them out of the conversation. So we'll be moving forward in the new format as jobs become open and as it looks like we can hire people. I would say that the next positions we hire are probably going to be a custodian and a computer technician. One, because as we need to install things and move things, Robbie, who's our only custodian at the moment, can only pick up one end of a table. He's just not talented and long-armed enough to pick up both ends of a 6-foot table. And if we're looking to replace all of the computers, Richard Wales, who's our only IT technician at the moment, he'd be here forever having to do them all. So there are 3 computer people, technical people on the organizational chart, and there are also 3 custodians. So we'll be replacing at least one in each category soon. And then we'll move on to some of the others. So. Any questions about personnel that we can discuss in public, that is? And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. The next items on the agenda are our committee reports, and they are going to be postponed until the next meeting. As you can imagine, there has been no opportunity to meet, so any report will be postponed. The next item is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business?
Nothing from me.
All right. Then I think we can move. Do we have any emails for public comment?
The one comment earlier about please speak up and state your name when you're speaking. And a comment from Carolyn Cullum, head of Children's Services here. She wanted to point out that we are also missing one full-time children's librarian due to a retirement last December. So that's actually part of the 6 people that we need to replace around here.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I was advised by our by Jim DeVicco, the township IT manager, that there's a 3-minute lag between what we're speaking here and what gets broadcast on the township website for those who are listening live. So we probably need to wait another minute or 2 before we close out public comments and adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for me? Do you want me to speak to something? I can say that the staff have been working on a new website design, and it's very good. But one of the things that has popped up is that our domain name is about to expire, so that's one of the things that needs to be renewed. And I'll be trying to get to that in the coming week. And that, along with our Constant Contacts subscription, which lapsed last fall.
That's helpful. That's helpful to know.
I don't think, let's see, it's been about 2 minutes now. Some of your names are here on my list, and others, all I see is a telephone number, so I can't identify you. It's now 8:17, and nothing seems to have come in yet, so.
All right, so does it seem like it is safe to continue with the meeting?
Yes.
Are there any announcements?
Not for me.
All right, I would just like to remind trustees that the New Jersey State Library, New Jersey Library Association, and the Trustees Association, these webinars that you might want to participate in. I have attended 2 of them, and I will be sending reports of those meetings.
I'm hear you.
That I have to announce other than I hope everyone stay safe and figure out a way how to open our library safely. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
What did you say? Like, I have difficulty to hear what you just said. Like,
I was mentioning that webinars are available for trustees to participate in through the New Jersey State Library and New Jersey Library. I'm not sure if you were able to hear me. Do I need to repeat the information about webinars for trustees?
Or I can send it out.
Fiona, can you repeat that? There was a lot of background noise.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of background noise.
are you on speakerphone or if you are on speaker, that can happen.
I had mentioned that webinars are being offered for trustees that are quite helpful. And I will put a message out to that effect so that you know what is available.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other announcements? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second? That was David Yu who made a
Maureen
motion.
Ruan, second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Do we need a roll call vote?
I don't think so.
No. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
It's 8:90.
Thank you. Everyone be safe.
Thank you. Stay safe.